So in our Genius Bar, our students are the teachers and the teachers are the learners, which when we talk to the kids, they always comment on how hard it is to teach the teachers. And you all know, their teachers are hard. They're hard to explain to. Some of them at our school have a fixed mindset, and it's difficult to get them to try something new in their classroom. They're scared. And having our students be excited about teaching the teachers, it breaks down some of the walls and allows our teachers to try new things. So we'll talk a little bit about what our students do with the teachers a little bit later. We're also building technology leaders at our school. So these are students that generally have fairly good grades, but it's not always the case. It's not always the A+ students in our Genius Bar, but it's students that are dedicated to technology and willing and ready to learn and share. And they have devices in their hands. They're going to have devices in their hands for the rest of their lives. It'll change in 5-10 years what those devices are, but they're going to have technology. And instead of trying to battle the technology, we are working with it to make it constructive in our school. And so that is where we're going.
Before we continue, if you didn't already get this link, so we have our resources where we're giving you kind of our outline of how we set up our Genius Bar, plus our student application for our Genius Bar. We have all of that linked for you. So if you go to that website, you'll have everything you need to start this on Monday if you really want to. And then we have a back channel for questions, but don't feel like you have to type questions online. Just raise your hand and stop us. We found success with this session. Works if you're asking questions as we go along so that you kind of get the big picture as we move through. So feel free to raise your hand. I can see everybody on this side of the room, but I cannot see you all because of that light. So just ask us to stop and then or wave really dramatically and we'll get to you. Okay, so getting started. So when we started off in the school year, we began by having information sessions. We're a year-round school, so we had meetings around the end of July or early August, as soon as the students were coming back to school. Our information sessions, we had 2 of them, where we just brought kids in and we asked them how they felt about technology. How do you feel about using an iPad? Do you feel like you're pretty good at troubleshooting problems? Do you have an interest in learning more about technology? And we asked them to tell their friends, and so we had a second information meeting after that. And that second informational meeting was at lunch, and then we gave them applications. And so we will, like I said, we have the application for you. We basically asked the students just a questionnaire and a few free response questions about how they felt they were a problem solver, why they would be a good fit for Genius Bar, and then we required them to get recommendations from 2 teachers, because if teachers were able to point out kids that are really quick to jump up and help with technology needs in the middle of a lesson when the Wi-Fi goes out or something like that, we wanted the teachers to have a say in who would be our technology leaders on campus. And then we also looked at GPA, so if a student was failing all of their classes, we said, maybe we need to focus on tutoring at lunch instead of Genius Bar. So we didn't have a GPA requirement, but we obviously have some days where we actually need to pull our Genius Bar kids from a classroom. And so if we have to pull them from class, we have to make sure that those kids are passing their classes. Otherwise, there's no way we're taking them out. We ran into a couple of problems our first year where other teachers were finding out who the Genius Bar kids were and pulling them from a class for 2 hours. And we found out, and we were like, absolutely not. That's not what this is for. So we found out 2 of our girls were pulled from social studies class to help another teacher show students how to back up files to Google Drive. And we were like, no. And so we had to come in as teachers and say, that's not what this is. These are still students. Their academics are their priority. So we had to be really clear with the teachers that if you need something, email us. We'll figure out which kid should be pulled for a maximum of 20 minutes, and then they got to go right back to class. Otherwise, most of our help and our support is happening before school or at lunch. So that's a conversation to have on campus. We have weekly meetings with students. So right now, they're Monday at lunch. At the beginning of the year, there were more because we have half of our school that are 7th graders that are brand new users of iPads. And so there was more issues, more technology glitches, lots of students who had no idea what their passwords were or set them up and came back the next day because they still didn't know what their new password was. So there were lots of things that needed to be fixed about the first month of school because half of our school were new users. And so now we'll talk about what we're doing now because now the school year is kind of moving along and the Genius Bar students aren't in as high of a demand as they are in the beginning of the year. And so like we said, in the mornings, like the first week of school, the kids are there ready to help other students. So they come in and they say, hey, I don't know how to back up my files to Google Drive. I don't know how to submit my assignments to Canvas. I don't know how to check my Jupyter grades. I don't know how to get all my files back because my iPad was wiped by the library because I forgot my password, and so now I have nothing from my classes, and my history teacher's mad at me, and then the kids just sit down, and then we have our tech leaders help troubleshoot and get the kids back on track. And it's usually pretty quick that they're kind of dropping in and out. It's very similar to the Apple Genius Bar, like, the Apple Store. You go in, hey, I'm having this problem, can you help me? And then you leave. And so now we're not doing as many help hours, but the students know that they can come in Monday at lunch if they need help, or they'll just be sent to one of our classrooms, and then we can find the Genius Bar kids on campus to help, or we can also just help the kids.
So a lot of our focus, as teachers, our focus is on student learning. And Genius Bar entirely benefits the students. We'll talk about how it benefits all stakeholders in our school, but the students are our #1 priority. And a lot of it is student empowerment. So these are 7th graders. They come into our school. Some of them are 11, some of them are 12. And they have a device, and the world is wide open to them. And they're able to find these leadership opportunities. We've seen students go from really shy at the beginning of 7th grade to powerhouse leaders by the end of 8th grade because they have this avenue. Not every kid in our school is cut out for ASB. That's not always the leadership that they want. They're not all extroverts. And so Genius Bar is really the place where the quieter students are able to shine as leaders and able to be recognized for their accomplishments without having to be all peppy on the stage with a microphone. Because that's not how everyone is. So it's continuous learning for our students too. They are constantly learning new things. They're constantly coming and teaching us new things, which is so cool. And when they see us learning, they get excited because they know that if they're teaching us something, then they have that leadership role. We have other Genius Bars in our school, in our district, and so we've had the opportunity to collaborate with them at district technology showcases and boot camps around the district. So it's cool to be able to take our students there, and they're able to see what other students are doing. And if any of you have any sort of technology club at your school, we'd love to hear from you because we'd love to get our students connected to schools outside of our district too, so they can see what other schools are doing, whether it's elementary, middle, or high school. We, at the end of the 8th grade, our students promote before they go to high school, so we're able to recognize them at promotion with either a medal or a certificate to celebrate their accomplishment because it's a big deal for them and something that they're able to put on their resume when they move up to high school and then into college. We also see a lot of critical thinking. So the problem solving that our students are doing, I guess I should tell you that the structure of our one-to-one, as teachers, we don't have the password to the Wi-Fi. No one has the password to the Wi-Fi except our one tech guy. So he is the only person that can fix Wi-Fi problems. But we can help students reset passwords, Google Drive, Jupyter Grades, which are a grading program. So the students are constantly troubleshooting and finding ways to fix problems. As you know, if you work with kids, you know they always find a way around anything that you put to block anything at school. And those are the kind of kids you want in your Genius Bar, because they're the ones that come up with these creative problems. They're the ones that tell us, hey, this is how kids are getting around the firewall, or this is how kids are downloading games from China, because the Chinese app store works, but the American one is blocked out from the district. So they're the kind of kids that you want in your Genius Bar, because they will tell you what's going on, and they're rewarded for that instead of playing games in our class. They're constructive leaders. So that's been a good experience for our kids. So we're really on the classroom implementation side and basic resetting passwords and showing students how to use iPads, not the actual fixing and re-imaging or anything that the district takes care of. So there's definitely a separation, and whatever your environment is, that's something you're going to have to navigate and discuss with your leadership. And then also just our students know the latest in technology. They know the latest apps. They know what their friends are playing with. They know what's on social media. We're both young, but there's still a lot of things that we miss out on. And so our kids are really our ear to the ground, and we're able to find out what the latest trends are, so we're able to work with those in our school.
And something to add about the school-wide recognition. So we have our 7th and our 8th graders as Genius Bar technology leaders on our campus. And what happened was last year, we knew that the 9th graders at our feeder high school, they had technology as well. And so the vice principal came to us and said, we heard you have a functioning Genius Bar and that we have some technology leaders coming into our school. Can we have the list of those names? We're gonna keep them and create our Genius Bar so that those students now can use all their expertise and their knowledge and now bring it to the high school level. At the high school, obviously, is triple the size of our middle school, and so they also needed the support. So it was really great to empower the kids and also tell them, oh, by the way, now we've trained you as 7th and 8th graders, but you're going to be awesome and you're going to walk into high school as a leader with a group of kids that you know, because the teachers recognize you and the administrators recognize you. So it was really huge for them to be able to feel good about themselves as they left middle school, kind of having a step into something going on at their high school.
There's another question in today's meet. Did the students reapply each year, or are they automatically in? In the past, we've had them reapply as more of a formality and something to be fair. We can rethink that, and we're working on restructuring for next year a little bit, so that might be something that we do or not do. At this point, with our application, and I think we'll get into it in a little bit, but with our application, as long as they fill it out and turn it in, they're pretty much in. Our numbers are ranged from 10 to 15 because we're a club, not a class. And the small numbers really allow us to get to know the students. So our 7th graders this year, we know who's going to continue on for 8th grade, and so they're in.
And we made the mistake the first year of recruiting too many kids. And so we had 40 kids in our first Genius Bar, but there wasn't enough for them to do. So that it would just they'd all come in at lunch and they would just be talking and gossiping. And it was just it was chaos in that room at lunchtime because there were so many kids and we maybe only really needed 7 of them to actually do something, go talk to a teacher, go and help. So I would recommend you start small, find 10 kids, and 10 would be golden. We have 1,000 students on our campus and 10 to 15 kids is more than enough. And also, I would recommend having a teacher partner to do it because it does get to be a lot. When other commitments come up, both of us don't have to be at every single meeting, and that helps you out so you're not taking on the whole thing by yourself, or team up with whoever is in charge of IT at your school. So we've had our IT guy come to the meeting so the kids know who he is, and that way he can talk to them about what he knows and how he troubleshoots, and he's taught them a few things. So I think that would be kind of cool for your kids as well, to see some other adults coming in and supporting what they're doing.
So this is some graphics of our badge and our shirt. So we made shirts for all the kids, and we made them badges so that if they're on official Genius Bar tasks during school time, it's kind of their pass around school. We try not to pull them out as much as we can, but if they are needed, then they're able to wear their badge, and they like to wear their shirts around campus. So it's something nice that we were able to do and get ASB to pay for. So teacher benefits. Our teachers benefit quite a bit from Genius Bar because they have student tutors that are available to help them. And this is something definitely in the mid-year lull that we're able to do a lot more of when there isn't as much students needing our help or students needing the Genius's help. We're sending our students out to buddy with 1 or 2 teachers to teach them something. And we tell the students, go to that teacher, introduce yourself, and ask the teacher what they want to learn. But if that teacher doesn't have something that they want to learn, make sure you have 1 or 2 apps or tools that you know of that you want to teach them. So the students had a really good time trying to track down the teachers. Teachers are busy, and so they'd come to us oh, I can't find this teacher. They're not in their classroom at lunch, and I've been every day, this week. And so it's hard. And so they're learning how busy we are. But, when they're able to sit down or stand up with one of the teachers that they're trying to help, just the stories that they come back with are, I was so cool, I got to teach this teacher, Quizlet, and then he's going to use it with his 8th grade history class next week. So that's been something that we've really enjoyed. And now teachers are also requesting to have a buddy to come teach them something. And so the students get excited, the teachers get excited, and it creates a very positive culture. The question was, do we have teachers submitting a Google form and with something that they need help with? We have not had enough demand to need a streamlined process. Right now, email is enough, but if the demand were higher, we'd need something a little bit bigger.
I wouldn't, sorry, the question was, did we have teachers that were uncomfortable with this process? And I don't think anyone ever shot it down or said no to the idea, because we basically framed this as, we can't get to your classroom to help troubleshoot, so we have these 15 awesome students that we trust and who applied and who are responsible, and they're going to come to you. And we've never had any negative feedback on the process, or having kids alongside the teachers. We have something we call Viking of the Week, where we recognize specific students, and teachers are actually using that to recognize the students that have come in to help them. And so the teachers on campus they really are in support of Genius Bar, because they can actually have a place for students in their class to go to if they're having issues. So I think it relieves their pressure a lot. It relieves the pressure on me. I have Genius Bar kids in my classroom, and so we were doing a science simulation 2 weeks ago on Explore Learning. I don't know if you've heard of Explore Learning, but they're online science simulations, and I couldn't figure out why the app wasn't working. And so I had 2 Genius Bar kids in there. One of them was like, well, let's just skip the app and go to the website and log in from there and launch it. And it worked. And I was like, cool. And so I knew right away, and you recognize them on the spot. It's a great way to give that positive feedback right away. You know, you shout out the kid in class, like, you know, if it weren't for Carlo, none of you would do work right now. And they're like, oh, Carlo. And so it's fun. It's been very positive. I think our staff is happy. We have a staff of about 40. And what we did the first year is we partnered, when we had that big group, we had partnered one student up with one staff member. And then last year we went to having one student for 2 teachers, just to be able to check in, and we encourage them to be open to not partnering up with a teacher that they knew. You know, try someone different. You know, your 6 teachers that you have, maybe try somebody else, or partner up with an administrator. They also partnered up with the counselors, help the counselors make some iMovies for a couple of the parent nights. So they can be all over campus. It's really up to you how big you want to go. Yes. So the question was, are the students out during instructional time, or are they out during teacher lunchtime? So it's predominantly teacher lunchtime. The only time that we've allowed students to leave during instruction is if the teacher tells us beforehand, like, hey, on Wednesday, can you send Nejma to my class for the first 20 minutes? Is that okay? I want her to show my entire class how to back up files. And then we obviously, you know, we think of who the student is, can that student miss class? And we usually make it so that the Genius Bar kids, because we know most of them, they're leaving our class. Because I don't want to go to another teacher and say, hey, I need to pull this kid from your math class to go and help with this technology need. At least if I have that student, I try and do it so that they're missing my class and I can get them caught up, and then it's fine. Or usually it's the kids that you send have no problem catching up when they come back. And that's how we've kind of navigated that situation.
Have you guys taken them to any, is there any like kid tech conferences or anything that you've been able to take them in regards to?
The question was, have we taken them to any kid tech conferences? Our district has put on some student-run technology showcases and student-driven technology boot camps, so we've taken them to that. But aside from that, we haven't gone anywhere beyond that.
Okay, so obviously, as you've heard, there's lots of teacher benefits here. Teachers are getting one-on-one support for their technology questions. They're getting problem solved in class. So if you have that Genius Bar student in your class, or just a tech-savvy kid in your class who's willing to get up and help, you have someone there in the room with you if something goes wrong. So teachers, like we said, have been very supportive, have been very positive. They know who the kids are. They're recognized on campus. They know where to find the kids. And they know that we have a very quick turnaround, because as soon as they email us, we find out where that kid is, and then we pull them into our class, or if it's our prep period, we'll go find the kid and we'll say, hey, you know, Miss Bloom needs your help with this. Would you be okay going by at lunch? Or we'll shoot them an email, and they'll say, okay, sure, like, we'll be there. So this group this year has been super responsible and very quick to respond to us, which has really been positive for all of the teachers. And so I think my favorite part and why I've stayed involved the last 3 years, not just because my partner in crime is very fun and loving, it's because the kids are now teachers. The kids and the teachers are forming these interpersonal relationships that we wouldn't have been able to foster on our own. So they're coming in and giving a student that sense of, wow, I just taught my teacher something. And I mean, I'm sure your kids think like, you know everything. How come you don't know the answer to this question? The kids feel so good when they are able to offer that support. And then you're forming relationships with your kids. The teachers for the last 3 years have had nothing but positive things to say. And they also have been very understanding in knowing that we can't solve every issue. So like if it's serious, like jailbreaking or the App Store disappears, or they're getting games on their iPad, or they can't connect to Wi-Fi, they know that's not where we can come in. They know where to send the kids. So they've been very, very understanding of who we are in the process and what we are allowed to do. Yes? So the question was how do we communicate with the kids to find them? We email them, but then we also use the Remind app. All of our students have an iPad, and so the Remind app messages are sent with push notifications. So if I send the student a message and they're connected to Wi-Fi, wherever they are on campus, it's going to pop up on their iPad. And it's going to say, hey, it's Ms. Johal, come and see me at lunch. And so it's very quick and easy. We're finding, like you probably know, that kids don't check their email. And so Remind has been a little bit better this year because it's been our primary source of communication with them. They can send pictures to us. They can send messages back. We can send voice messages to them, and it's free too. So if you haven't explored the Remind app, it'd be an awesome way for you to connect with your kids.
And if it's something that's pretty immediate and we're not sure if they're on their device in that class, we can always pick up the phone and call their teacher and ask them to come at the end of class, or send them a paper pass, that says come at the end of class. So you can use the old-fashioned, non-technology ways if needed. Especially if it's something like, I need you in 20 minutes, but you're in the middle of a class. It's a little easier to send them that way.
You mentioned that you weekly meetings with them. During what time and what do you cover? Like new apps,
Right now, because it's the lull, we're working on projects, and we're just starting spring break. And so after spring break, our meetings are going to be focused on recruitment for next year, changes that we want to make for next year, assigning tasks. So, okay, who wants to work with this teacher, or pick a teacher that you want to work, or pick a tool you want to teach a teacher. So it's a lot of the administrative work. And then they do a lot of the creating and meeting with teachers outside of our Monday meetings. Because by the time they get their lunch and go to the bathroom and say hi to a friend, we have about 20 minutes with them. So we have to use that time pretty quickly.
And if you have the option, I mean, we obviously, yes, we're giving up our lunch periods, sometimes multiple lunch periods a week. What you could do is, if you have a homeroom or an advisory, you can ask that your junior SPAR students are your advisory or your homeroom, so that you have set instructional time with them. So for example, we have 45 minutes every Friday for our advisory, and teachers can pick any topic that they want. So we've talked about, giving up our own advisories, like the things that we like. So I do photography and art, and she does coding, but if we wanted to, we could ask to give up that time, which I don't think we're ready to do yet, because lunchtime is fine for us. You could definitely talk to your counselors and your administrators and make this a part of the school day. That way you have a set time with those kids, uninterrupted, to get what you need done with them. Okay, so administrators. So we have 3 admin on campus that have really been positive, and they also recognize who the students are on campus. We're finding that since students are able to provide many professional development opportunities to the teachers, it's free of cost. If you have kids coming in and saying, hey, Ms. Johal, I want to show you this new video app that I tried, or I want to show you this photo editing app, or, we just found this game that's kind of like science, but do you think it is? And so we're having this constant communication between teachers and students about technology. And so that in itself is live PD. The kids can tell you something that you didn't know, or they can show you how to fix an app, or they can show you a part of an app or a website that you had no clue, or you couldn't have find the time to figure out on your own. And so our administrators really like it. So the training of quite a few apps has actually happened from students, and we've actually taken those trainings and put them online. So we'll show you some student videos where they're making tutorials for teachers and for students of how to do the basic things that they're finding kids are asking about, or that teachers are asking about. And then again, it's the empowerment, having students and teachers collaborating together and having that leadership opportunity for the kids. And so far, so good from the admin side. And they've been really supportive. So we were given like a small budget in the beginning to get some like extra iPad chargers. We actually had a Genius Bar room for a little while where the kids would come in, but we realized that we weren't using the space and it could be used better. So now we have it in Miss Venturino's classroom. But we were given a small budget to kind of help the kids make their space come alive. There's another school in our district that does Genius Bar, and they have a whole room set up, and they've got like the San Diego Maker Movement helping them design this really cool technology space for the kids. So depending on your budget and how your administrators feel about bringing a Genius Bar to your campus, it'd be kind of cool to create a live space like the Apple Store for your kids to come and work and collaborate and hang out and talk about technology.
Then also our families benefit from Genius Bar. So really what the students are doing is extending beyond our school day and our school setting. Students are able to train their parents. We've had parent nights where students are training parents on simple things like how to access Jupyter Grades, which is the grading program. And just doing that alone immediately grants parents so much access into what we do every single day because we do use Jupyter Grades, our grading program, as almost as an LMS. So that parents are able to log on and see what's going on. We host a monthly tech breakfast for parents. So it's before school, and so we've invited the Genius Bar kids to come in to present the videos that they've made and talk about their experiences with technology. And just having students have a sense of pride and of place on a school campus is something that parents really value. Our parents are thrilled that their students have this leadership opportunity and are connected in some way that's very constructive to our school. So that's something that we are very happy with the family benefits. The mid-year lull. That's where we're at right now. We are officially 3/4 of the way through our school year. So there isn't a lot of need to reset passwords. If students don't know their password, then we're not really sure what to do with them because it's been 3/4 of the year that they've been with us. So by now there aren't a lot of needs for the little fixes that our Genius Bar students do. So we have a lot of things that we have them do instead. So right now our students are creating videos and are meeting with teachers. Like I said, after spring break we're going to be talking about restructuring or ideas that our students have for next year to plan the recruitment of current 7th graders for 8th graders, and then to talk about how they're going to get the new 7th graders on board with Genius Bar at the beginning of the year. So really planning out those ideas. Also, another thing is one of our computer labs was recently upgraded from really old computers to not really old computers. So we have a ton of devices probably going to the trash to die. So we're going to invite our tech guy in to take apart computers with our Genius Bar kids because they should see what the inside looks like. And if they're going to the trash anyway, it doesn't matter if their hands are touching the motherboard and all the things that are inside. So having the students have the opportunity to take apart a computer and see the insides, that'll be one of the projects that we do with them after spring break because again, we don't have a lot of jobs for them to do as we're wrapping up the school year.
And new students, we live in a military town in San Diego, so we have a lot of students moving in and out of the schools all the time. And so oftentimes, I had 2 new students last week, and so we're thinking, okay, it's March. These kids that are coming in new have also never had an iPad before at their school, or maybe they might have had one at home. And so the Genius Bar kids are actually sent to talk to the new students, or we send the new student, if we have them, to the Genius Bar kids, and they kind of just go through a quick tutorial of how to best use the iPad. And so that's also something they can do now because we don't really have, like we said, like a great need for what they're doing currently. Yeah. So the question was, could we adapt this for an elementary school where 5th graders could be the leaders? Absolutely. I think that, we're a 7th and 8th grade school, and if we were 6, 7, 8, or if we were 5, 6, 7, 8, I still think this could work. Especially if you're talking about 5th graders, they are the oldest in your school, I'm assuming, so they can be the leaders on campus. You can then have a more formalized training about the technology. So we're going to give you access to how we train our kids in all the technology. So our kids don't come in just knowing everything. That would be awesome. But we have an iTunes U course that is set up with modules and assignments and activities that the kids have to do before they officially become a Genius Bar member. And so we can give you access to that course, and that's something that if you wanted to do at the elementary school level, you could. You could say, you know, it'll be more structured. Let's all sit down together and let's go through and let's teach you these things. And then from there, the kids can kind of break off and own it a little bit more. But we're going to give you access to that course so that if you want to start with a group and you're not sure where to start and you don't know what they know yet, you give them this this course that they take, and then they'll be good to go after that. And so that will be coming to you.
I really think it could be adapted anywhere in the elementary grades. You know, there's plenty of leadership opportunities for students in 2nd and 3rd grade too, and they're fully capable of teaching someone. You need to scaffold that process and really role play it a little bit more with how do you talk to an adult, how do you introduce yourself, what does patience look like? But I think that really in elementary, it's tough with our 7th and 8th graders too. But I think in elementary, any age, they're able to be leaders. And I think giving them a structured environment where they can take those skills is really special, because not every kid wants to play sports and take leadership that way. That's cool. So what she said was that she does a K through 5 technology program, and in her 3rd through 5th, our technology leaders and a 3rd grader taught the principal how to screencast, and then he did it with the student and asked in the middle, was that okay? Did I do okay? So I think that's awesome, and that empowers both the student and the principal to know that we're all learners and we're all in this together. And just having the student, I bet that's a memory that student's going to have for their entire life, because they were able to teach an adult a useful tool.
So fundraising. So like we said, we were given a very small budget in the beginning of the school year. It was a couple $100 just to kind of make this space a little better, get some extra chargers, and we used that more on hardware. So we had a stylus pen fundraiser. So we ordered them in bulk online, I think from China or somewhere, you know.
Amazon.
And then, yeah, and so we bought them in bulk and we sold them for $1. And that was helpful because once one student saw that there were stylus pens on campus and they had a pink one, they had to go and get a blue one, and then, you know, kids were using their lunch money on stylus pens and not food. So we had to make sure that we asked them, like, did you eat lunch today, or are you just buying 5 stylus pens? And so then they were like, oh, no, and they can't lie. They're like, oh, well, yeah, I ate, Miss Johal. I'm like, really? Did you eat? And so you have to make sure that, you know, especially with your younger ones, make sure they're not using all the money on the cool tools. So that was one way for us to get like a little bit more just to spend on the kids. We used the money to buy the kids T-shirts, and so we'll show you like the front and back of their T-shirts. It paid for the badges. They got nice badges like these that were that had the plastic cover, and so it gave them that recognition on campus. We printed certificates with it, and then we had a little bit extra, so we had a pizza party for them at the end of the year. And so that was fun for us, and it generated a lot. I mean, we have 1,000 kids on campus, and so if you have a population like that, even if, you know, half the kids are interested, then you kind of get a little bit more for the kids. And so that's our T-shirt. The front of it was, it's kind of modeled after the Apple logo, and then the students from our first year made their, I guess,
Slogan.
Their slogan. So they were called the Indestructible Vikings, Leadership, Experience, and Opportunity. So that was all them. And we were like, really? Indestructible? And they're like, yeah, we're indestructible. So you have the personalities that you do, and so you can make it fun. I think recognition on campus is a big piece. If a student has a T-shirt to wear or a lanyard to wear, that's a big deal for them, especially in middle school. So it would be really awesome if when you got to start, if you had the funds available to get T-shirts made. I think that's a really good route to take.
There's our students from this last year and this year. So our Genius Bar is pretty small, and there's kids absent because inevitably at lunch somebody's going to forget, even if it's the same day, the same time, every week. They're 7th and 8th graders. They're squirrels. They forget. So this year we had a little bit better turnout with getting the kids there to get a nice little group shot. If you're following along on your slides, you'll notice that all the student pictures have been taken out, so you've been shared a different copy, just because if we're sharing our slides, we don't want you. We love our kids, but I don't think their parents would appreciate them having their faces on the internet without permission. So, but they're a good group. We love them.
So this is right now. So how are we training the students? So there's the code for the iTunes University course. And this is what we use to train the students. So yes, they come in with varying levels of technology experience, but we do want to make sure that before we launch them out into helping teachers, that they all have the same foundation. And so the iTunes U course can be accessed from your iPhone, from your iPad, or from, that's it. That's it. So if you have one of those two things, you can do that. The code is there, DYXTCDWN2. You need to use the dashes and you need to have capital letters. And I believe right now it might need an approval. So after the session is over, I'll sign in and just approve you all, and then you'll be enrolled. And so what you can do is you can share that with your students. Again, this is only going to work if your students have an iPad or an iPhone to access the course, because it's an Apple learning management system, I guess that's what we call iTunes U. So that will be, if you can't get it because of your device issue, then sorry. But email us and we can give you the outline of what we ask the kids to do, and then you can modify it. If you have Chromebooks or you have laptops or you have Android tablets, we can send you like a screenshot of how we did our course for training, and then you can just, mimic that to suit your needs. And we have student training videos, and we're going to show you a few of them now. So this is what we do during the lull period, which is right now, so that the kids have something to do at the meetings. So you can see there are different personalities that we get in our group.
Yeah, and so they used iMovie for those ones. They also have Explain Everything on their iPads, so they're able to use those. And recently I got Chromebooks from Donors Choose, so for any web-based tools, then we can have them doing screencasts in the future too with those.
That's it.
Any other questions?
Yeah, we'll hang out if you have questions. We're going to put the first slide up with the resources.